we go. Today, we are back with another episode of Web3 Wisdom Podcast, and I'm really glad and happy to have none other than Mr. Stefan Rust, who is sitting right next to me in the sense from Zurich, not so far from Munich. So glad and excited to have you here on the board, Stefan. Welcome to the board.
No, thank you, and really happy to be here, and always, it's been we've known each other for many years now, and so funny that we both end up with in cities that have a U in it with two dots on top as well.
Yes, those typical German letters, umlaut, you with umlaut.
Umlaut, yes, exactly,
Umlaut,
umlaut.
yes. Cool. So, Stefan, you are the founder of Truflation, which I know I have talked with you several times. In fact, we have met in number of times across the globe at various conferences. But could you please give us a brief about your journey, so that the audience can know more about you?
Yeah, look, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've launched a number of businesses in the past. I got into Bitcoin in about 2012, where I ran a developer agency. We were working with all the big tech companies to help them with developer acquisition associated with platforms or SDKs that they were trying to promote. And one of the developers wanted to get paid in Bitcoin, right? And I was like, what the hell is that? So I looked it up. He was in South America at the time, and then that sort of really got me querying. Looked at it, and I saw there was a Bitcoin J wallet, a Java wallet, and I used to work at Sun Microsystems, and so I knew some of the contributors to the development of that wallet, and the wallet was really bad user experience, right? It was really hard to use. You needed to, some sort of level of geekiness inside you to really get this going. But either way, I bought on eBay using PayPal. I actually bought my first couple of Bitcoins. And one thing led to the next. 9 months later, I was on a call with that same developer, and he wanted to get paid, and then the price had jumped significantly from where I purchased the Bitcoin. So yeah, because we were talking about it being in dollar denominated. So ultimately it became a lot cheaper in dollar terms over that short period of time, which made it nice. But more importantly, on a Skype call, I was sending money around the world from one user to another user on a peer-to-peer basis instantaneously with no fees. At the time, Bitcoin didn't have any fees and it wasn't clogged up. So it really went really quick. And so that was like, wow, this is amazing. This is the next thing since sliced bread, and really got into Bitcoin, offering anybody that worked with my company at the time could get received and be paid in Bitcoin. And I became the CEO of Bitcoin.com as a result out of that, and meeting and connecting with all the right kind of people until 2021. When the government shut everything down. And that was sort of the genesis behind Truflation, when we were told, or more berated to, inflation is just transitory. Don't worry. We'll shut down all the economies, print a lot of money, and there won't be any inflation. Don't worry. We got you covered. And I then started looking under the carpet and realized, wow, there's a 30x opportunity here. And so, decided to build an MVP, got support from Chainlink and Balaji to get us off the ground. And then that was just sort of like a red rag to a bull. And I just ran for it. And we've now built it 3 years in, tracking 18 million items, 3 price feeds per item. And we have a whole bunch of leading economic indicators as well. And so that's sort of what we've built and what we run. And we provide it for free as a dashboard today, truflation.com. Check it out. And if you want to get the data, you want more historics, you want more calculations that you may want to do, or simulations you may want to run, then for $12 equivalent, you can actually use Truf tokens and get a subscription and download all the data and run your simulations.
Cool. I mean, that's quite an impressive journey. I mean, you have summarized everything in a few minutes, but to be honest, being in crypto for such a long time, right? I mean, you were at the right time, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
were trading bitcoins back in days, and in fact, you have done the full circle now, right? To watching Bitcoin grow, to launch your own token and get it traded now. How many exchanges it is trading right now, if I may ask?
I think we're now on some 10. I mean, if we include the decentralized exchanges, 10 to 15 exchanges.
Wow,
Yeah, I mean,
that's impressive.
it was
That's impressive.
definitely quite a journey. I look at it like 10,000 Bitcoins a pizza to now a $2 trillion industry, right? So it's like
Yes.
significant growth over 10 years, right? I mean, it's a
Yep.
phenomenal evolution and so quick.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. So being a serial entrepreneur, I mean, you might have faced n number of challenges, right? I mean, entrepreneurs in itself, I mean, that's a term that is always facing struggles, right? Be it
Yeah.
hiring, be it getting the right sales team, doing the product market fit. It's quite a journey. So walk us through the challenges you have faced in this Truflation journey in particular.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty fortunate. I came from I'd say it was a bit luckier. I've had a serial entrepreneur, so I have actually experienced what it's like to. It wasn't my first startup, not my first rodeo, so I had a very strong network there. I had a lot of confidence that that this was an opportunity that was worthwhile leaving the Bitcoin ecosystem and the Bitcoin Cash ecosystem and Bitcoin.com for Truflation, and so that sort of gave me the courage to go down doing that. Challenges, I mean, there's so many challenges as an entrepreneur, right? At the beginning, I was lucky. I had some co-founders that I managed to sort of get behind the concept, and we really were working, four of us together in a room, in some, yeah, in Hong Kong. We were in some backyard, little office, and they were video recording us in the office as we were brainstorming, over Zoom at the time, because it was just the beginning of COVID, so not everybody could travel. And one of the co-founders was in Japan, and so we just got this off the ground. And it's. I mean, I guess you're always struggling. Resources, people. How do you find the right talent that understand what you're working on? Then you have to sell the vision to the people that you want to attract, but then you don't have the money for the people that you want to attract with the right kind of talent. So then you're constantly straggling between the resources to execute and the resources to finance the execution capabilities associated with that. And I think that's the biggest struggle. And I think everybody that I've met that wants to run a startup underestimates the commitment that you need to be an entrepreneur and really build a business and a startup. And we're not there yet. We may have listed the token. We still have a long way to go. And think about it. Every entrepreneur that's really built businesses that are billions of dollars, they take 10, 20 years to get there of total, 150% commitment towards what they're building. It's like, and you're juggling personal life, family life, you're sacrificing, you're not going to parties, you're out at the office, you're writing code, you're writing a business plan, you're talking to investors, you're trying to convince customers. All the meanwhile, your other people are at the gym, they're swimming, they're playing instruments, they're going for vacation, whilst you as an entrepreneur are there totally passionate about pursuing one dream and one sole dream and executing on that. And yeah, that's why I admire what you're doing as well, right? Equally so, the commitment you've got, you've been tenaciously working at this as well at bitsCrunch. And I mean, your website, I remember seeing the first website and how you've evolved and the amount of content that you've built. I mean, it's nice to be able to see and look back, but you have, as an entrepreneur, you're always 1-2 years ahead of where you think you need to be, but you are at today, right? I mean, that's always the challenge.
Thanks a lot for the kind words, Stefan. So, I mean, I see Truflation and bitsCrunch as companies that were started at the similar stage, right? I mean,
Those
when
stages, yeah.
we completed our seed round. By the time I came to know that that was a bull market, the bull market was over. So we have been constantly keeping our heads down, focusing on building for the last 3 years, grinding in and out continuously, and backed by take Truflation for instance, backed by Chainlink, one of the big names, OG names from the Western world, and Balaji Srinivasan, the ex CTO of Coinbase. Getting backers like these in a bear market is not so easy, and you have done that. Touchwood, we have done that. So I could literally see the passion when you spoke those words. These are true words. I mean, these cannot be spoken if you don't have that passion, right? I
Yeah,
could
yeah,
see the burning desire in you, and I'm really heads off to what you're building at Truflation, because every conference, everywhere, one out of every two conferences that we appear, I could easily spot someone from Truflation. It's mostly either you or someone from the team. So you keep traveling between countries and continents at times. So kudos to what you are building. Keep doing it. Keep inspiring us. So moving on to the next question. So Truflation in itself is like an interesting concept, right? I mean, that is why you have such a nice backers. You are listed on 10 plus exchanges now. And like you said, it is just the beginning of the journey. Look at the Facebooks and the Googles of the world. They have been building for the last couple of decades or more, right? Google has been building for more. In fact, Apple is
yeah,
a three decade, 4 decade
yeah.
company. So Truflation just got off the woods, got off. I mean, the engine just started. So, could you please tell us what are the main advantages of providing the real time economic data on chain when you compare that to the traditional methods? What is the key difference?
Yeah, so the way traditional methodology is really very panel oriented, it then it aggregates the number once a month and actually aggregates the numbers to announce it once a month. But historically, they are still waiting on lagging data sets so that the announcement that they make today may change in 6 months' time or 3 months' time down the road because they've received new data. And so, number one, it's not immutable the way we received it before Truflation. What we've done with the blockchain is make it immutable. So we cannot go back and change it unless we're changing a whole new price feed and creating a whole new methodology, which we do go back and do sometimes. Every year we update the methodology. Number one. Number two was the big thing was it was panel based, and we felt we could do it on a census based model. What does that mean? That basically means that we're going and pulling real-time price feeds into a calculation that we then do to spit out a inflation number, or the true CPI as we call it. And so those were two big differences. Now, if I can do it in real time, and real time in the consumer prices don't change, every single second. The price of eggs that you see in the supermarket, unless you're maybe in Argentina, but there, or Turkey, it'll change every week, but not every single second, right? And so
Hmm.
we felt that if we did it daily, that would be considered real time, and that would suffice and be sufficient. And so we actually decided that if we did it on a daily basis, we wouldn't have to wait, number one, every month. And that would allow people and investors to make decisions every single day, which would give you a compounding benefit of 30 days to the monthly announcement, or 360 days every single year. And the benefits of compounding are significant in every single decision you make. And so we just felt that those were some of the huge benefits that a real-time economic data on-chain would provide, not just to people that could afford a Bloomberg terminal, but and have analysts that would constantly calculate it on a daily basis, interpreting each of the number sets that they would get from a Bloomberg basis. But we could make this available to everybody. So again, permissionless. It was pervasive. It was available to everybody, and then immutable and transparent. So you could see all the different data sets. We would
Mhm.
transparently provide methodologies. And ideally, where we're getting to right now is being able to make the governance of that compute
Mhm.
independent and decentralized, right? And so
Mhm.
that's going to be the beauty. We've been working on that for since the beginning to really decentralize the maintenance and governance of indexes on a
Mhm.
decentralized basis.
Oh, that's really cool. I mean, getting it decentralized is obviously attracting a lot of people. Like you said, it gives people easiness to the data, right? I mean, people
Yeah.
may or may not afford a lot of fancy tools or data sets. And
Uh,
in crypto, I believe one of the really important good afternoons or good evenings is from Jeremy Powell, who reads Fed updates every month. So getting it on a daily basis is really cool. But how I just want to understand, how do you ensure that the data is accurate and verifiable, because you are putting it out there and immutable, which is all good, fancy, super. But how do you make sure that the data is accurate? That is something that you might have struggled at the beginning, right? Walk us through that.
Yeah, so it was really so when we first started, our first calculation was just our methodology, and we were pulling in as much data as we possibly could to try and just replicate what the BLS was doing. But we very quickly realized that we can do so much more with this. And in order to ensure accuracy in real time associated with the price feeds that we were pulling in, we needed to make sure that every item we were tracking had at least 3 price feeds. So that way, number one, we could do a calculation associated with it, and number two is we could ensure authenticity and accuracy associated with the data. If there is a deviation greater than X% in a given category, then we would have to spin that out and send that off to a verification process. And if it was within a bandwidth of 10%, for example, for the price of apples or the price of eggs, then we could actually keep that and we would feel that that was accurate enough because 3 different sources are within a bandwidth of about 10%, which was an accurate enough deviation
Mhm.
for Truflation. And we use a consensus algorithm to help us on that calculation. We also have inside there an authentication element where we authenticate the
Mhm.
source of data. So we actually know where the data is coming from and can pinpoint that back to that source, and thereby I whitelist or blacklist a specific source in terms of the quality of the data that they're submitting. We we were and are very adamant about the quality of the data that we capture.
Mhm.
We had the option of just crowdsourcing all the data at the beginning and then just opening up. But then you have a much bigger challenge around the quality of that data and verifying the accuracy associated with it. And so that's how
Mhm.
we started. We have done experiments and are continuously experimenting, and we will be announcing another level of experimentation with
Mhm.
crowdsourcing price feeds. And there are 2 ways to do that. One is reward people that share their pricing information. And again, now we can track where it's coming from, we can track the quality of it. So we're comfortable with doing that. The other element is providing SDKs, or what does that mean? Basically, providing integration capability with
Mhm.
applications that are already being used for doing shopping of food, travel information, Uber rides, etc., etc. So how can we provide a simple integration or plugin so that
Mhm.
developers on the counterpart application that have already got a broad user base enable them to share and get their community to share pricing information on an anonymous basis so that we can then plug that in to the various categories and ensure composability with that data. And that's where
Mhm.
leveraging tools like AI to automate the composability of that data is, we're testing that right now and trying to work with tools that can enable and extract or
Mhm.
automate and add intelligence to a specific task, which is the
Mhm.
composability.
Good. I mean, I could personally see a lot of evolution
Yeah,
since you guys started, right? And when you stress on quality, that also speaks a lot of qualities as a founder that you possess, and also the team. So
yeah.
what are the core values of Truflation, and where do you see Truflation in, let's say, the next 3 years or 5 years, in the long run? Where do you see Truflation from here?
So really liberating financial and economic data, right? How do we liberate and enable the development of financial products, or sort of with this economic data, right? How do we enable the participation of 1.7 billion users on the planet today that don't necessarily have access to financial products or with the data that we are providing, right? And how do we enable that, right? How do we unlock and democratize, financial and economic data sets, so that people that have studied or learned or taken on the task build an index, and we can govern that index. If you think about it, indexes today carry one single index. Let's say the MSCI Global Index is $65 trillion worth. That's just one index and one company earning basis points on maintaining, managing that index. Now, if we can create indexes of that magnitude, maintain through a decentralized network the accuracy of that index, then ultimately we've achieved. That's, to me, the task that I've set out for Truflation, and with what we're trying to do, and where we want to go.
That looks really ambitious. Wish you all the very best for that journey.
I mean,
I'm
we got
sure
to be
it's
ambitious, right? I mean,
of
I mean, we're
course.
startups, we're entrepreneurs, we're investing all of our time and passion to this. If it's not ambitious and we want
Yes.
to achieve specific grand targets,
Yeah.
it's, yeah, not
Yeah,
worth the
as
effort.
founders, as you said, we have to be ambitious. No
Yeah,
other alternatives to that, right? I mean, I haven't seen any startups or any founders who have done passive work or doing 50-50 to their job hasn't succeeded
yeah,
of late, right? It's been the case. So we have talked about the business. We have talked about what are the core missions and Truflation. Now moving on to the fun part, the Web3 part. I would like to touch upon Truf tokens, the
yeah.
engine, the oil of the whole vehicle, right? So talk us through the Truf tokens, where it is required, where it is used, what are the utilities of the token, and what do you have in store? Let's say for 2 years from now, 1 year from now, do you plan to add on any other utilities for the token? Maybe walk us through the Truf in general.
Yeah, so right now, I mean, the Truf is a utility token. It's used for the decentralized network that is providing all of that workload that I talked about, the composability of the data, the accuracy, the verification, and maintaining the storage and the compute associated with the governance of that data. That is what we need the Truf token for. And it's called the Truflation Stream Network, and the Truf token powers the Truflation Stream Network. And it does all these tasks. Data providers participate into the network with Truf tokens. Data analysts that build out indexes leverage the Truf network for the calculation of indexes on the Truflation Stream Network. And the consumers use the Truf token to subscribe or to pull the Truflation price feeds and data feeds into their application, their DApp, their Web2 application, or they just download it and have their internal analysts do simulations and calculations with that data. Yeah, and so that's how we've built the Truflation Stream Network. We're working with a vast community of developers, not only us at Truflation, but also working with partners like Quill, We're working with partners like Usher Labs. We're working with partners like bitsCrunch on the data side, right? And then we've got our own analysts that come in and help work alongside the bitsCrunch team to build out the Nifty 50 index and things like that. And we've got a number of other data developers that are bringing us data that are whitelisted alongside the likes of a bitsCrunch. We've got indexers, we've got node operators that maintain the network and provide the compute resources and storage resources. We have database developers that are building a decentralized infrastructure to enable the maintenance on a decentralized basis across this node network. And then ultimately, we have other development partners that are helping us on the billing engine and building out the pricing, the billing, building out smart contracts to enable the billing, the verification, and the integration of Truflation Stream Network into the likes of a Chainlink, but also into other chains that are heavily focused on RWA, right? Real world assets. Why? Because the pricing that we're aggregating is from the real world. And what we're doing is trying to distribute that to people interested in building applications on their layer 1 or layer 2 blockchains that are looking to focus and be dedicated to real world assets, synthetics, real world assets, liquidity pools, real world assets, etc., right? And that's really how we're developing Truflation, and that's what the Truf token is here to power.
Cool. I mean, great to know. One thing that I notice and I really like about your tokenomics is you have a really long vesting, right? I mean, it is when I saw that, I felt it is similar to Bitcoins of the world, because these days founders have a very shorter cliff and vesting. Some founders like to do it within 1 year or 2 years, but that's, I mean, there are good projects who have done that way. There are a lot of bad projects who have done that way. So kudos to you and the team who have worked on such a really long tokenomics, so that people feel a part of an emerging company, right? Like you said, a startup or a business is not an overnight success. It takes at least half a decade to a decade to show something, show progress, because you need to take care of hiring, sales, business, marketing, and everything. And being in Swiss, how do you manage the team? So are you a remotely working team, or are you guys based on certain pockets? Walk us through the team and how it
So
operates.
we're a very decentralized team, and we are all over the world. I think we're and ultimately, we call it the Truflation nation. I'm a big believer in network nations or network states, not nation states. Why? Because we're all connected through a network and we're all working on a common purpose, no matter, regardless of where we are. And so, we span, the company itself, Truflation, or the Truflation protocol, or the foundation is a Panamanian entity. And we actually the team was originally in Hong Kong when it was founded. We then moved most of the team to the US in Austin. And then now I myself have moved to Zurich, and now I'm in Switzerland. So truly global in terms of the location of where we are. And the team spans participants in all the way from Tokyo through to San Diego and down to Perth, up to Middle Eastern Europe, across to the US, and even in Latin America and Peru and Argentina. So very diverse team. It is
Good.
challenging. It's
Of
not easy
course.
to, number one, do a startup, then do a decentralized startup when you're
Yes.
not in the same office. But it
I-
is, you do work time zones. And if you're passionate enough and you find the right team members that are equally passionate about the same and the common pursuit, then you actually all find time to get up early in the morning, stay late, work at all hours of the day to try and find those windows that overlap, or make sure you have a handover around the world. But the beauty is
Exactly. I mean,
crypto's 24/7 anyway, so you need to have global presence.
Totally, Stefan. I mean, I can totally resonate with what you just said because these are things that people don't get it, right? At the end of the day, most people, I mean, I'm not putting a blame out there. It's most people just look at the price and they feel that the project is not working or not hustling. They come to a quick conclusion over there. But in reality, it's either early morning calls or late night calls. You having an employee in Hong Kong versus Perth versus New York or
Yeah.
Canada, that is actually tough to get a handover to make sure that a work is completed within a certain window. It's really tough, and I can definitely feel you. So talking about the partnership with bitsCrunch, I'm
Yeah.
glad that we were able to pull off a data point together, right, by working in a collaborative way. Is there any upcoming partnerships that is coming on the way? Is there any alpha that you can leak for the community here?
Yeah, I mean, the marketing team will want me to keep quiet, but um, we're really happy to be and have launched the Nifty 50 index. Right, we're looking, and you and I have spoken about what other areas could we focus on leveraging the data, and what other partners could we be engaging with to then evolve this into other types of indexes. What could those other types of indexes look like? So in the same sort of space across NFTs, across gaming, how can we identify other categories and indexes to build out? And so we're working on that. So I'll share more with that very soon. We are also working on other countries. There's one country in Latin America, in the southern part of Latin America. Actually, we'll be announcing it next week. So,
Mhm,
Argentina.
mhm,
There's Argentina historically had very high inflation,
mhm,
and since the change in leadership, they've been announcing inflation coming down significantly.
mhm,
And is there a way to have an independent party come in and calculate that inflation? And so we've been working with a number of advisors on where and how we could source the data, how we could build credibility associated with the Truflation brand name to build a true Argentinian CPI. What would that look
mhm,
like? And we're working together with the government there as well, or government representatives, to be able to add a level of credibility and engagement with the government as well. So it's like a public-private partnership. So we're really excited about that. And then we're also looking into other areas, other types of indexes across, macro areas in terms of agriculture,
mhm,
energy, AI, food,
mhm,
sentiment analysis. How do we do real-time sentiment analysis, right? Today, if you think about it, we're doing a sentiment. We're trying to calculate based on asking people in a survey what their feelings
mhm,
are. But one thing we know, that people will never tell you what their real feelings are because they don't know them. And then, so you'll never be able to capture the real sentiment. However, when they're in the moment and they write that tweet, they write a thread, they go onto Facebook, they share a post on Instagram, all of those elements together add and give a flavor of sentiment. And with
mhm,
the access to that information on an anonymous basis, just purely
mhm,
pulling in the feeds, we should be able, using multimodal, sort of natural
mhm,
language processing, we should be able to identify what a sentiment is out there and have
mhm,
that in real time. How do we do that? And how do we weight the
mhm,
different levels of sentiment, right? If somebody with a huge followership says one thing and somebody with just one voice says another thing, but how do you value the two? How do you weight that? How do you evolve that? And those are things that we're trying to work through, but that's something very close to my heart, to be able to assess what are people really thinking today versus, and
mhm,
then before it blows up and becomes violent, um, just before it becomes violent, right? I don't like destruction. I don't like violence. And
Mm.
how can we track and give relevant people to then adjust accordingly to
Mm.
meet the market demands or
Mm.
represent the people appropriately.
That's really great. I mean, fans of Lionel Messi would be proud because Argentinian CPI is coming up shortly, and then I'm really looking forward to that social media mood indicator or the sentiment indicator. That's something that feels really close because, as you said, it is that moment, right? The people like a tweet, reshare, or share some content on the Facebook. That is that moment because when you make it as a survey, it gets diluted, right? I mean, that feel or that opinion changes over time. So getting to know the sentiment is really curious. I'm really looking forward to that. But it's been a really pleasure having you on the pod. But before we say goodbye, I would like to have some fun with you.
Yeah.
Just a quick fire, 3 to 4 questions, quick fire, rapid questions. Are you ready for the next segment?
Let's go.
Yeah,
Now let's
let's
see
go.
there.
So,
Yeah.
so Stefan, what's your favorite physical activity or hobby?
Yeah, so my favorite hobby used to be swimming. I was a master swimmer. I was a championship swimmer. I really trained to compete at the world masters level. But then I hurt my knee and I stopped swimming. So today I'm really excited about gym. I go to a workout. I do weights and all sorts of exercise there. I row in terms of erg rowing. I love that because it's so exuberant and I mean, the heart rate goes up really quickly. And cycling, I love cycling
Okay.
because it gives me time to process all the data, information, emotions that you go through on your entrepreneurial journey.
Good. I mean, being in Zurich, I guess you missed out skiing, or I'm not sure if that is because of your knee situation.
No, my knee won't allow me to ski anymore. But yeah,
Okay. Yeah, cool.
if anything, snowboarding must be. Yeah, it was super fun. I used to snowboard, but then yeah, my knee just doesn't allow me to do it anymore. I had
Okay.
significant, I've had like 6 knee surgeries. So yeah,
Ooh,
something
okay.
nobody else wants.
That's quite a lot. I'm sure. In spite of all that, the way you hustle, looking at that, a big inspiration. You are a big inspiration, Stefan. Keep
Thank you.
inspiring a lot of people. Cool. So talking about inspirations, who is your biggest inspiration? I would love to get a name outside Web3 space, outside of Web3. Maybe some any name that rings a bell to you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know any one specific person. I mean, I really, admire like a Lance Armstrong for his cycling, his commitment, his
Hmm.
focus, his tenacity, and despite the issues that he had from a doping perspective, I think he did put in the hard work, and he definitely made a phenomenal success out of something that was nobody talked about Tour de France before, right? It was like
Yep.
really, and he's pissed a lot of people off, and but I think as you become more successful, ultimately you will piss people off. Everybody talks about Elon Musk, right? Not everybody loves Elon Musk, and he's another inspiration, right? And just the growth, the commitment, the tenacity, sleeping on the floor, leadership, right? Leading from the front.
Mhm.
You have Jeff Bezos, right? I mean, also building out Amazon, amazing
Mhm.
traction. And then it's sort of, yeah, just, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I do like, there's a marketeer out there, Rory Sunderland, um, who
Mhm.
I really I love his words and his
Mhm.
conversation because he just looks at it from a very different perspective. And to me, that's just, so I didn't think of that. We all think about the train, and his famous one is the train ride, right? You take a train, we always want the fastest. What's the fastest A to B, right? It's just by default, we just think of that. And he's actually Well, no, don't worry. If you got Wi-Fi in the train, it
Mm-hmm.
takes an hour longer. We've got
Mm-hmm.
great, male and female stewardesses serving you drinks, and we'll have, great music playing. There's a kids section. You could just dump the
Mm-hmm.
kids there and let them play in the room. All the meanwhile, you can do your work with seamless Wi. Would you not like to go to work like that? And even if it takes a bit longer, you don't need to queue up. You don't need to have,
Mm-hmm.
an airport, unpack, repack your
Yep.
bags, take off your shoes, take off your belt, and hot. There's no aircon.
Mhm.
Anyway, so just different perspectives, and I think
Yep.
that's one example. And he's got all these other examples, which I
Mm.
find just inspiring.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what's your favorite city? I mean, I'll rob Zurich from you. Not to. I'm not allowing you to say Zurich here. What's your
I've
favorite
been
city
very
and
lucky.
why?
I've lived in every city I've lived in. I've loved. I've loved San Francisco, Tokyo, Beijing, Hong Kong, Austin, Zurich. Yeah, it's like London. It's like every city has a unique flair to it, and every city is different, has a different vibe and a different
But if you have
cultural.
to, but if you have to pick
Huh?
one or two, I know
One or
it's
two.
tough, but that's the core here.
I mean, I'd say Hong Kong because of the dynamic, the hustle,
Mhm.
the freedom, let go spirit, and Austin
Mhm.
for that matter as well,
Mhm.
where during COVID everybody else was masked up, nobody could go out, but in Texas
Mhm.
it was just do what you want to do and be free, and that
Awesome.
those are, I'd say, the two that I would pick out, and they stand out the most.
Cool. Okay, so one last question before we let you go. So if not Web3, if not Truflation or Bitcoin.com, which you landed by accident, wha- what would have been your career path? What would have been your journey? Would you be a teacher, professor, cyclist? What's your career?
I mean, I don't know if I would go back and change anything because I think it's really hard. But if I
Mm-hmm.
look at where I am today and I look at, I have children, what would I want to do if I were them today? And if it were me coming into the world today and looking at all the opportunities that are out there today, I'd want to be an astronaut. I think
Mm-hmm.
the
Okay.
opportunities to go and explore
Mm-hmm.
in the real world outside off the planet Earth is going to be so vast and so new and so groundbreaking and changing that the space race has started, and I think being an early participant in this space race
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
going to bear a lot of opportunities to humankind, and as an individual that is always excited about the new thing,
Mm-hmm.
I think that is the new thing that is not many people are going to go after. It's going to be interesting, challenging, and all the things that we experience as an entrepreneur, just in a whole different realm, right?
Yeah, I mean that's totally an interesting take because we have had what close to 8 to 10 guests so far.
Yeah.
Nobody has ever said astronaut. So again, you are being you yourself, right? The constant exploration, be it commitment, be it quality. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation right from the beginning because we touched upon a lot of points, not just talking about business in the sense, not about truflation, but a lot about how an entrepreneur struggles, survives, and carries forward, hustles over late night calls and early morning calls. So a big kudos to not just you, but the entire Truflation army, Truflation nation, in your own words. So keep doing what you're good at. Keep inspiring a lot of founders like me, a lot of builders like those who are listening to this conversation. And any parting thoughts to the community that is listening.
Yeah, no, it's like, yeah, I think pursue your dreams, but make sure that you are pursuing the dreams in an environment that exposes you to opportunity in within the realms of those dreams, right? So if you want to be a movie star, don't pursue being a movie star in the mountains in Wyoming. You may as well go to Hollywood and then try to pursue your dreams there, right? You need to be able to be in an environment where you have opportunity, where just by the pure luck, you can bump into XYZ that will offer you this opportunity, which will give you a desk, a seat at the table for this opportunity, which will then allow you to meet these other people, which will then, so it's really the pursuit of the dream and the opportunity, because a lot of it does come down to luck, right? You do need a bit of luck in there, and you bring about that luck with your passion, your energy, but you don't want to do that where you have no one around you to help you in that pursuit.
Yep, rightly said. I always say
Yeah.
luck favors the brave, right? Because if you put in
Yeah.
98% of your effort, if you pursue your dreams, and not just pursue in the sense just pursuing, but fully committed to that, and then putting in all the hard yards, obviously luck is going to favor you. The twist of 2%, 1 or 2% of luck element adds on to that journey that makes it to the next level.
Yeah.
So it's a pleasure having you on the show, Stefan. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your wisdom words. Would be looking forward to having you again on the show somewhere down the lane.
Thank you so much. Yeah, good job on you at bitsCrunch as well, and look forward to more deeper partnerships, and look forward to sharing more on what we're going to be working on together as well. So thank you, and yeah, really admire what bitsCrunch has, where it's come from, and where it wants to go as well. So thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Take care. Yes.